thank you everyone for attending today. We are going to focus and do an in-depth topic on production scheduling. And going forward on the third Wednesday of every month, we'll select a topic and we'll go a little bit deeper on that and have the trainer an opportunity to give a presentation on it and then also ask questions at the end. So I would encourage you to stay on, ask your questions, and we do open Q&A at the end. But this will be focused on a specific topic of production scheduling. So Pras will lead the training. I'll turn it over to him in just a minute, and he'll focus on the schedule and production tabs that are on estimates and orders, and also the activity manager and how you can use each of those tools to schedule your jobs in production and track them. If you want to also add your questions in the chat box throughout the session, feel free to do that, and then we can get to your questions at the end so you don't forget them. And to reduce any background noise, I have muted everyone just so that we can clearly hear, and we've got a lot of us on this call today, which is great. But just so it's clear and audible for everyone, I'll go ahead and mute everyone. And as a reminder, this session is also being recorded and will be posted to the customer website on the basic training page by the end of the week, so you can access it and go back if you'd like to review anything that we covered today. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Pras.
Thanks, Kristen. Good afternoon, everyone. So we'll start today, and we'll actually start on the production tab, which is the easier of the two to kind of go over here. So I'm just going to pull up any order, top one here. I think I got this one with just a couple of line items on it. So this one will be a good one here. So we'll go ahead and we'll click on the production tab. So the production tab, as you can imagine, shows you the line item details and which station and priority. That's probably the two main focus of this. Now, the other way the production tab is used is also used with progressive billing, which we'll get to here in a sec. So just a broad overall view is this is, of course, works hand in hand with job tracking. So most people, when they're tracking jobs, they're either going to do it on an order level, which you would have a station that's set here, or you would do it on a line item level, and there you would set stations here. So depending on how you're tracking here, this would be kind of a good quick way to set stations on either order or line item level. The other thing that you do see here is a priority column. So this is something that in control probably doesn't get used as much. These are priorities that you yourself as a user can create in the system. So quickly kind of sidetrack and show you where that setup is. It's just under setup, system setup, and if you look under order estimates and service tickets, you'll see priority. So you could come in here and set different priorities, and you could see that you could give it a name, set a level, and set a color for your line item explorer. So to just kind of go back to there is to, and actually in order to set the priorities here, you can see that there's really no drop down, no choice, and you actually set them on the items tab, and this is kind of a view. So if we went back to our items tab and we were to right click on here, you can see we have an option to change priority, and of course any priorities that you create will be listed in here. So you can set one to high, set one to low. And if we go back to our production tab, you'll see that referenced. And in case you're wondering, of course, in the Explorer, you'll see their colors as such. So this one would be something we would use on a line item explorer. And this is something that does confuse people a lot, but there's a little bar right here, and you could go through the different transactions. So this is where you would be able to select an order and type in number and see its corresponding line items. And as you could see, since we set a priority of high on the first one, it's showing up red in the Explorer. So in turn, many of you guys probably have dashboards and instruments set up for job tracking, so kind of a useful way if you're tracking jobs at a line item level to have that set. And as you can imagine, probably one of those things that, you know, high could mean rush, so you can definitely have a priority level of rush and make sure that that gets out, and that's kind of aware on that person's dashboard and instrument. So going back to here and click edit, like I said, and you could certainly set something at an order level, or if you do track things at line item levels, and for example one is in design, one is in printing, pretty simple to kind of set that here and view that at a glance on any job. The other columns that you see, or if you have multiple warehouses and multiple divisions, and you can certainly change that there. And then last thing that you see is the artwork approved, and this does work hand in hand with the new artwork approval tab that we have. So if you guys are utilizing that, that's something that would show up on here. Now, can't show you that on my screen. Artwork approval tab doesn't work internally for us, but like I said, if that's something that artwork has been approved, it would definitely show up here. And then moving on, really like I said, the last thing that really production tab is used for is for progressive billing. So progressive billing refers to maybe a client, maybe it's a really, really large job, really expensive job, and client wants to be billed as maybe line items are completed, or maybe parts of line items are completed. So what you see here is first a checkbox to track progressive billing. And you can see as soon as I check that box, if there's some percentage complete, it's going to transfer over to the line item. So this is kind of an overall view, but you could certainly come in here and specify that maybe that one of these was at 30, or maybe halfway done, compared to something that's at 50%. So the way this kind of works is all tuned towards your invoicing. So progressive billing is run through invoices. Doesn't change up the way you're posting payments, but you can certainly set up a payment schedule to reflect your partial billing cycle. So if we do have something set up like this, and we go to print the invoice, and we'll just do our standard invoice, of course. You'll see on the standard invoice there is an option to show progressive billing. So we'll check that and preview the invoice. So you can see here basically what it does, it pulls in your line item subtotal and multiplies against the percentage that is complete to show you that the balance that is due. So it will show you a partial balance due for each line item and give you a total of that. So if the customer is really asking for, hey, we would want to be billed in every quarter, or 50%, or maybe it's just a line item. Maybe when line item 1 is done, all you would do is really set 100% completion on that, and they would be only charged for line item 1. So kind of various ways that progressive billing can be used. But as mentioned, as far as posting payments, it's really the same thing as whatever the customer sends in. You're posting payments, but like I said, you could certainly do a schedule of payments to reflect your partial billing cycle. So moving on, is up next, it would be our scheduling tab. So this is our scheduling tab here, and there's a few things that we need to do in order to get this work, and that is actually going to the parts that we want to show up on our schedule. So typically the parts that are only parts that are being scheduled are your equipment and your labor. Labor refers to, of course, which employee might be running the printer. So if we just let's just focus on one item to keep things simple, and we'll look at two parts, because the way you schedule these two parts can be a little bit different. So we'll first look at your equipment part, which is your printer. So all I did was, it's a shortcut, this was a right-click and view part, but certainly, if you're not aware, but setup, pricing setup, all pricing setup, I'll get you the same area. So once we're on here and we click edit, you'll notice that we have an option to show on production schedule. So we'll go ahead and select that, and then you'll see we now have a new tab for scheduling. So typically what you'll see is you'll have create one calendar for this part, and I'm not too sure why you have HP 5000 defaulted in there, but should be that coming across. So typically what you will have is one calendar for each part. Now, some customers have chosen that even though they might have multiple HP 8000s on the floor, that they actually only have one part in the system. So, you know, other customers, of course, would have, you know, two HP 8000s in there and just listed as maybe number 1, number 2. But like I said, some customers just have that one single part. And for those customers that do, that's what the second option is used for, is that you could create two calendars for the same part. And so, you know, it's one of those things that you do have two HP 1000s in there, but you just have this one part in the system, so you could certainly create two separate calendars so, you know, both machines can be scheduled and put into use. So for our purposes, we're going to go ahead and we'll leave this because I'm going to show you how that can be used in scheduling as well. So let's say perhaps we did have two of these on the floor, so we'll create two calendars. So let's go ahead and save that. So now our equipment is going to be showing up on our scheduling. And if we go back to our order, let's go ahead and do the same thing for labor. So right-click, view part. And same concept, we're going to go and show on production schedule, and you'll see when we click on scheduling this time that now we get basically a list of our employees that are in the system. And of course what you guys would do is this would really be for print operators. That you would assign something for print labor, of course, because that would be the only ones that would be scheduled and taxed to do that. So let's just say for our case that myself and Chris James are those guys that can handle the HP 8000, or really any printer. It doesn't necessarily have to be that one. Alrighty, so now we've got that saved. So now both our equipment and labor part for this particular order are set to show on production schedule. And now if we go to the scheduling tab here, you can see now those parts are showing on here, whereas before they weren't. Now it just so happens that print labor is also being used on flatbed print, so that's why we see that line item show up on there. So this will hold true for any parts that you set to schedule. They will automatically appear in this list. Now these are only the parts that are included on the line items, of course. If you click edit, you can see that there is an option to add other parts. So maybe there's some extra labor or finishing labor or something that just wasn't associated with a line item. You could certainly add that in as a part and something that if it is tracked to be scheduled will show up on here or can be set. So if we come here, we could see that a few columns here, product, of course, first product name, your print, your part refers to the part, and your description is something that's different than the part. It's actually going to show up in here. So that may be something that you guys have named different printers or nicknamed for printers, that sort of thing. And then next is instance, and what instance is referring to is the calendars. So on our HP, as I mentioned, that we had two different calendars on here. So this is kind of where you would specify, you know, which calendar would be used. And like I said, this is typically used to distinguish multiple printers. So, you know, we're scheduling this to be running on the HP 8001 versus the HP 1002. That's where you would select that. Now, you'll notice the instance for our our print labor parts has not been defaulted to anything. And that's because you would typically come in here and pick the print operator. And dependent on their schedule, it will actually show up. So you'll see that in just a minute after we set scheduling on this one. We'll clone it. But this is kind of one of those areas that you could select the person and see if they're busy that week. Now, of course, I don't have anything scheduled for either, so we've got an empty week showing up. But this is kind of where you would come and say, hey, you know, this person might be busy. It looks like he's really busy. Let's switch it to Chris and have him actually operate the HP 8000. Let's just put my self in there, and then you'll see that in the column here, it shows you that your time. So, you know, it's saying that it takes it's going to take about 20 minutes for this person to operate the printer, and the runtime on your printer is about 20 minutes as well. So about 22 minutes for the printer operator, 20 minutes for this. These times, of course, are times that you would have set. Now, typically, your print labor matches your printer or is usually lower. So this is kind of an unusual circumstance where print labor is higher than the HP, and that's just probably because I have my labor percentage set at like 110 or something. But typically, it's either equal or less time. So that's a little abnormal there. And lastly, this is where we go to schedule. So just kind of point at the arrows. The blue arrows control the time, and then the red arrows control the days. So you could kind of see that it's always going to default to today, and you can go into the future. So for our purposes, we're just going to go and say this is for today, round 1. All right, so what we do is we, and that was a double click, if I didn't mention that. So this is where you kind of choose the area that you would want to schedule it, and like I said, in just a moment, we're going to clone this, and what you'll see is that there'll be areas already filled in. So it's one of those things that you come in and you see which open area is available, and you would schedule that part. So all I did was double click, and this is a work assignment that you would create, and that would be set for that part. So come in here, and there's a few things. If you guys are familiar with creating activities on a calendar, really the same thing, where you could set reminders for that employee, and you can see that it pulls in your order, the line item, the part, and then your time. So you'll see that it kind of corresponds to the time that's set, and also you can kind of see that it does kind of a good job of putting in the duration or how long it would take. So kind of as I mentioned, you know, something that's 0.36, a little over 20 minutes, so you can see that automatically schedules and says at starting at 1 o'clock is going to take you 21 minutes, and time of 1:21, and of course that can be overridden. So simply, it's just something to kind of look, double check, and click OK. And you can see as soon as I did that, you got the order number appearing. So like I said earlier, as you could imagine, this will kind of carry over into other jobs. So let's go ahead, and we've got the labor scheduled, and let's do the same thing for the printer. You could see here, because the printer was a little bit less time, that is showing 19 minutes. So same principle, just kind of a good overview. Here, as mentioned, this is one of those things that, again, you could change the instance here, which calendar it would appear. So we click OK, and now we got those two scheduled for line item 1. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's take it from when we do a new order. So let's just clone this order. Like I said, this is like you would do a new order. So let's say if this was a new order, you would come in here, and when you go to schedule these parts, you could see now that this slot has been taken. So it's one of those things that as you start scheduling parts on these orders, that you'll have a kind of a full list, and it's one of those things that like I said, that maybe I'm too full, and then we could switch it over to Chris, and we could say, hey, he's kind of empty, not doing anything at 1 o'clock, and you could schedule that on his calendar to run. Same thing with the printers. If you have multiple printers, you can say, hey, this printer is not being used at this date and time, and let's schedule that. And where was this? We could just save that as well. Alrighty, so now these things are showing up on calendars. So if we go to our Activity Manager, I'm just going to click on it. So when you click on Activity Manager, of course, when you're logged in, it's going to bring up your calendar. So if you click, there's a little dotted area right there, and you click, and this will show you all the calendars in the system. So for our purposes, we're going to select my calendar. So you can see this is my calendar showing up, and we have that part scheduled, and you'll see that now we actually have equipment, and we have our equipment calendar. So on this one, it showed up both, so let's just uncheck that other one that's not being used. But now you have both my calendar and the printer calendar, and you can see our scheduled work assignments automatically on there. So it's one of those things that it's people on the production floor may have a calendar open, and that's their go-to. So a lot of people that do job tracking usually have a dashboard instrument, as I had mentioned before. You still have that, and that gives you a nice kind of overall view of all the jobs in the system. But this will kind of give you your daily scheduled tasks that you have. So kind of a nice thing to have here. And another thing you could do to make this a little easier is you could save these views. So I have myself and my printer. So that production user can actually come in here and add and create a view for that. So all that was the drop down next to it, and I did add remove views. As you can see, I've had one that was created before. So this is also a great tool for managers to use, that they could have multiple people's calendars set up, and just kind of the way that works is it's all preset. So if I were to click on that, instead of showing just my calendar, you can see that shows up Chris and mine's. So same kind of principle. If we did new, and we said princess, let's say this is Pratt's printing. And you can see here, I would add in myself and HP 8000. It's not in there. I'm going to add that one. I'm not sure why the HP isn't showing. So all it is, I'm sorry, it didn't show that. Once you click the employee, you just click add. And like I said, if you did multiple employees, you could just click another employee and click add. Same thing with the print labor. After you select it, you do want to click add. But if we save that, now we just kind of have a simple view. So all that is I click on that, and you can see we got now our print labor and my calendar are showing up, and should have those scheduled. Now, typically, I didn't show you that because I don't know, not sure why, but the HP 8000 was showing up, but HP 8000 should show up on there. So typically it would be your equipment and yourself, because your print labor, of course, is showing up on your end. And then lastly, we do have reports for this. So reports can be used to show you all your activities. So under reports, activities, and scheduled activities there, you could see, you could run it by employee, by order, a few different things. Let's just say we ran it by employee for myself, and we selected today, and we just selected myself as the employee. Let's see, I might not have selected something. So activity type should be work assignments. And there we go. So and now this will show you all your work assignments and kind of show you basically the daily activities and work that's assigned to this particular employee. So if there were, this will kind of give you a breakdown of an employee's full day, if you wish. So kind of a idea of what they're doing. So just kind of a quick report to see what they, what their day looks like. So that's kind of the real gist of production scheduling. Not too much more than that. This will be quite difficult today to do the Q&A. I'm not sure if the best way to do that, because we do have about, looks like maybe 23 people, not including myself and Kristen. Kristen, did you see anybody in the chat box?
There was one question from Jacqueline who said that she had a question when we have a minute. I'm not sure, excuse me, if it was related to production scheduling or something else, though. I can go ahead and unmute everyone, and Jacqueline, you can ask your question.
Sure.
Hi, I was just curious about how to run a specific report.
Which report?
Well, I run that production report every morning, so I go to report and then user reports and then shipping dash production.
Okay.
And we go off that report every morning, and it has different categories in it. Now there's specific categories that I'm interested in that it doesn't print, and I was wondering if there's any way to make those appear in the report.
Okay.
So I basically want a report showing me everything that's being fabricated that's in production right now and everything that's being painted in production right now.
Got you.
Is there a way to do that?
The report that you're mentioning, I'm guessing it's maybe a specific custom report for you, or maybe it's a system report that you've taken and done something to it?
It does say our company name and then shipping dash production report. So it's very possible that's true.
Gotcha. So I mean, there's probably definitely ways. I mean, if it's a report, there's many things we could do to it, and that's why we create custom reports. So that's something, Jacqueline, that you I would probably encourage you to maybe join in tomorrow, to where I could actually hop into your computer, look at that report, and give you an idea of what we can do to it. But what you're saying is it sounds like it's quite possible. I would just need to take a look at the report myself and see that. But yeah, it should be possible.
Okay, so call back again tomorrow at 1.
Yeah,
and tomorrow we'll have, do it, you think?
Tomorrow we'll have a regular webinar, and I'll actually be able to connect into people's computers.
Okay, no, I can do that. That's perfectly fine with me.
Okay, good.
Thank you for your help.
Yep, you're welcome.
Bye.
Hey, Pratt.
Yes.
So do you know how you guys use Cloud App for calendars? So will this all show up on there as well?
Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah, that's the basis of it. But
You just
calendar
can't
app,
schedule from Cloud App, though, right? You can view it?
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, so basically the cloud app, the way that works is it's literally pulling the activities that are set in control. So that's it. So anything that's set, so work assignments, activities, journals, everything that you put on the calendar, it's just an exact replica on the calendar app. So I'm sorry, on the cloud app. So it certainly will.
Okay. And you can view multiple calendars on the Cloud App too?
Good question. On the cloud app, I'm not sure. I know when you log in, it's just your calendar.
Mhm.
And I don't think, if I recall, I don't think there's a way to view other calendars. That's a good point. I will look into that, and if that isn't a capability, maybe that's something we need to add, so you could view other calendars. Because especially in this case, it'd be one of those things that you would need to view a equipment calendar, which I believe when you log in, it just shows you your calendar, if I remember. So that'd
Yeah,
be a
because the operation managers are on the floor, then they can just check it on their
on their
device.
phone. Oh
Yeah.
yes, certainly. No, that's a good point. So if it doesn't already do that, I will certainly talk to development and see if we can't include the option to view other calendars. Yeah, certainly.
And for your own calendar, you can actually um, schedule anything online too on the app as well, right?
On the calendar app, ooh, I can't
Okay,
recall if you're just yeah, I was gonna say I can't remember if you just are able to view and complete assignments on there. It's been quite a while. I actually did a webinar in Calendar app, and I'm totally not recalling. Kristen, do you happen to remember if you could actually create activities on the Calendar app?
I believe you can.
Okay. Yeah, so it's one of those things I can't recall, because when they first introduced it, I think it was like one of those things you could only view and complete
Mm-hmm.
activities, but they may have updated to where you could actually add activities, and that correspondingly will create it. Basically, I think the downfall was when they first created is that it was only retrieving information from control, and it wasn't giving information or putting information back into control. So that was the reasoning why couldn't create activities on the calendar through the calendar app, but that may have changed. It's been like a
Good
year or
months,
so.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Well, I'll let you get back to me on that whenever you get time.
certainly. And I'm sorry, who's that? Who's this speaking?
Don't wait. Frontal graphics. We're logged
Okay,
in early.
gotcha. Yeah, so I'll certainly follow it up and see about being able to select multiple calendars through the cloud app.
Thank you.
Prath, we did get a few questions in the chat box. One question from Nick, is there a way to expand the hours window in the scheduling tab?
Let's see. So if we click edit, looks like you can. So it looks like you could schedule. It looks like what it does, it just schedules or moves it bigger. So it makes it bigger, but it doesn't look like it shows the more time. So it's still showing the hours 1 through 9 currently. But it looks like you could make it bigger to see. And to answer David's question was that if a job is scheduled from 1 to 2, but gets pushed for any unforeseen circumstances, that it goes to 2:30, will that push out all subsequent jobs? It won't do that automatically unless you come in there and you move it. So it won't automatically do that unless you come to that work assignment, update that work assignment, and move it to 2:30, in which case it will show an overlap. So it would be up to you to manually move the assignments that are scheduled after that by 30 minutes. TCAM, is there a way to turn off pricing on certain users' Sirius system? Not sure what you mean by that. Whoever's from TCAM, could you expand on that question?
Yeah, we have monitors in each one of our stations, like in our press room, our cutting room, and so on. And we bring up the jobs on the monitors so they can see them and work off of that. But pricing is shown on every one of those, and we don't necessarily need to have all the employees see what we're charging customers for their work. Is there a way to turn off the pricing so that our production staff doesn't see that?
So what is it, like a dashboard and instrument that they're viewing, or what are they viewing?
That's a work order. They're actually going in, like on the WIP list, they're double clicking into the WIP, and when you see the WIP, it shows pricing for each line item.
Are you referring to a WIP report or like an order explorer, just seeing the WIP orders?
The job ticket.
Like in the job ticket.
Oh,
like
the work order?
Yeah, like if you go to your items tab right now, you would see pricing, right?
Yep.
Right. Is there a way to turn off pricing on your items tab for specific users?
Not that I am aware of. I can't think of any security right that would deter them from viewing pricing. That's essentially what it is viewing pricing. I can't think of anything that would do that. If we did, it'd be under security setup and transactions. And I can't recall of any type of setting like that. Let's actually, you know what? I see something that says view order pricing information. I'm not sure if that would do it. You may try that. I would maybe try this one and deny that for a certain user and log in as that user and see if that prevents them from seeing.
Okay.
We'll take a look.
Thank you.
Yep. Well,
because it's yeah.
All right. Tom, certain times we schedule jobs, and it seems to schedule jobs on top of each other. Is there a way to schedule so that the next job is automatically scheduled after the next job? Good question. Currently, there isn't. This is something that has been asked over and over again, and what the hang-up or the situation is. But currently it is a kind of a manual process of kind of seeing what open slot there is, and that's really just because I guess because it can be pretty random. I think at one point they were working on, maybe creating a work assignment that just automatically fills in the next available open spot. So that's kind of how something like that would work. I know that was kind of in talks, but currently it hasn't been, just because it's just kind of so wide open on, something that can be scheduled on like a previous morning slot versus a evening slot that may be open. So I think at one point they were trying to do something like that. It could still be in talks to basically, basically automatically create a work assignment on the next available open slot is what it is. But currently, yeah, no way to do that. Paul Hosey, is there a way to have production calendar projected onto a large monitor in the shop so that production cats can see everything and schedule at the real time? Yeah, so not on the calendar. As you may know already, we do have that on your production dashboards where you have the option to float. So don't have that option for here. The next best thing you could possibly do is use the calendar app, because the calendar app is on a website. So you could certainly log in and have the calendar app, and you could throw the calendar app onto a big monitor, because that's just a web page. So that'd be the only way I could think of doing that. Now, it would be a good suggestion to basically have a float option on the calendar. So that's something that no one really mentioned before. So that could be something that we could put in as a suggestion to have a float option on the calendar. But for right now, your only solution would be to kind of use the Calendar Cloud app and project that onto a screen. Susan had a good question. If I have a 23-minute job, does the next job start at 1:23, for instance? And the answer to that would be no. So it would start right after. So if you, if we went back to the schedule, and let's actually go to the previous order where I had scheduled some stuff there. Schedule it somewhere. I think it was on the show. Let's just go to the calendar. But you can see here on the calendar, it takes up that slot. So if this 21-minute job, the next job would be scheduled at 1:22 a.m. because 1:21 is already set. So to answer that, yeah, it would be scheduled to the next minute. So next starting job after this would be 1:22 a.m. to.
Okay, Pat, there's the option roll over if not completed. What does it roll over to?
Rolls over to the next day. So if that is checked and nobody actually comes and completes the work assignment, that will actually roll over to the next day. So typically,
so you on next day then?
Yeah, so you would have one next day, and let's say if you did have something that was already scheduled, it's gonna overlap it essentially. So one of those things that some people do just to check themselves and make sure everything's getting completed, but most people leave that option unchecked and making sure that people are coming in completing their work assignments. Or some people don't even use the option to complete. They'll just have work assignments being created, and that's why they won't have that option check roll over if not completed, because they don't want anything roll over. They're just choosing not to complete it. So that is something that's additional. I mean, some people choose to come in and have their employees complete each work assignment as they're done, and some people choose not to. So whichever way works for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see, Tom. If we have a job with multiple line items on the same machine, we currently have to schedule each line item. Is there a way to schedule it all once back to back? Let's see. Hello, Tom, you there? Tom, if you're there, I was just kind of I'm wondering what you meant by your questions. If you have multiple line items on the same machine and trying to schedule each line item, is there a way to schedule call back to back? If you mean kind of like the same part across the board, it wouldn't be, because a different line item could be, scheduled at a different time realistically, because if you have multiple line items on the same job, on the same printer, you wouldn't be able to do it at the same time. Well, I guess not necessarily. I guess you could probably do maybe 2 jobs on a big flatbed, but typically not. Paul, I will definitely send you the info for the calendar app.
Okay, and it has nothing to do with the usage, right? So when say for the print labor, once you complete the job and you mark it complete, it doesn't post your time automatically to the job, does it?
That is correct. Part usage is completely separate from this. And it looks like a lot of people are asking about the calendar apps. I'm going to go ahead and actually put in the wiki. This is something that everyone has access to, especially if you're on the newer version. So I think got introduced in Control 5.6, I believe. So anything 5.6 and greater, you guys would have access to that. So I'm going to, in the chat box here, I'm going to put in the wiki on what the Calendar Cloud app is, and actually it will show you how to set that up as well and how to use it and the link you would use. So if everybody wants to take a look in the chat box there, there's a link to the wiki for the Calendar Cloud app.
I think he's gonna...
And Prath, to answer 2 of the questions earlier about the calendar app, you can view other calendars, not just your own. As soon as you log in, your own will populate by default, but there's a drop down and you can view other calendars, and you can also add appointments and activities from the app itself.
Okay.
Great, awesome. Yep, that's great. So we don't have to worry about that. So Total Graphics, that should answer your question. So it certainly looks like you could view other calendars, which is kind of great for this scheduling use, because of course you would look at an equipment calendar and your own calendar.
And you can schedule events from there?
Now you could certainly schedule activities. And when you schedule activities, there is a way to actually pull in the order and line items. So it's, in some ways, yes, it kind of works like the scheduling tab. So when you go create a new activity, a new work assignment, kind of the same principle. So you could certainly pull in the order line item part and instance. So should be able to kind of work the same way.
Okay.
And Jeff, to answer your question, not sure if this was kind of released or if you're hearing about that, but yes, there actually is development and talks of having production terminal accessible through cloud. So that is coming up. I know it's in the works. I know there's no release date set on that. From what I understand, it probably will be this year. But yeah, so they are looking to actually have basically a kind of a production terminal that you can view on the tablet and be through cloud. Because right now, currently, the only way you could really view production terminal on a tablet is, by having like a Windows Surface, because that's an actual kind of like a laptop. So not really efficient, and obviously those things are really, really expensive, so not ideal. But yeah, so that's been requested multiple times, and looks like development finally got it. So hope to have that in the near future, to where you would have a cloud app for a production terminal, as well as currently like we have to for our calendar app. So that's in the works, Jeff.
For production terminal, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so there'll probably, I mean, people that have production terminal, they'll be, certainly using it, but kind of going forward, that's actually going to be a cloud app that, that will restrict you having to be on a network, or, having Microsoft Silverlight. It'll be nice to, pull up on any on-site location that you're at. You can easily pull that on the website. So yeah, that's in the works, but haven't had a confirmed release date. I suspect that they are probably trying to get it ready for Syracon, but had no official word or anything on that. So that's something to look forward to. Alrighty, looks like got through the chat box there. And of course, Tristan mentioned we will record the video and post it on there. And certainly, if you guys have any other questions while you're checking, actually, Tom, you can go ahead and talk. What's your question? Or you could just.
All right, let me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. For example, if we have a storefront, 3 different elevations, we'll put each of those elevations into different line items because they're different sizes. It's all on the same material. So when in our scheduling calendar, it shows each line item, even though it's on the same machine, I have to schedule each of those individually. So that's what we're trying to
Oh, okay. So
speed up, if you will.
you gotcha. So basically, it would be 3 different line items, but they're all on the same printer. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't, and just because of how control works, and it's you know, per line item, it's going to pull in, you know, the same, you know, printer 3 times essentially, because you have a part on each one. Now, in your circumstance, it could be one of those things that you could, you know, you could just say you could just schedule line item 1 for that HP. The HP is just, or I mean, whatever printer that you may have. Not necessarily have to schedule the other 2 line items just because they're going to be working on it at the same time. But yeah, there's no process that I can think of that, you know, you'd set it on 1 HP and that same scheduling work assignment would be set for the other printers that would be coming from the other line items.
And what if we did it as 1 line item and 3 hidden line items behind it? Would that 1 line item show up?
So you
versus, and the sub items be included?
Good question. So if we made, let's just say we made this one a child. Let's test that. So we made this a child, and we would have 2 childs underneath it.
What's the time? Doesn't hold my time.
It should add up the time because
Doesn't add up the quantities.
yes.
Yeah. So that one. So your parts still come out. Let's see. It looks like it may. Let's see. It may carry over.
Oh, it's still a separate line.
Yeah, it still shows up as a separate line, but let's say, so what happens is it looks like if it comes in as a child that you can't even put that on the schedule. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have an instance selected. That's why. Okay, so let's come back and let's say we set something here. Oh, look at that. It does correlate. So yeah, that would work. So I said that just for that one, and any child line items underneath that got that same date and schedule.
I thought that was just the initial blocked out.
Yeah, it just
didn't at that time.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. That's right. You're absolutely right. That's just showing that, yeah, you're right. That's just showing that it's blocked out and you can't take it. Sorry about that. Yeah, so yeah, it does look like it doesn't kind of schedule the other print labor that would be really at the same time.
Okay.
We've got a few minutes. Any other questions?
Are you able to add notes while you're scheduling, or say for employees?
You can. I think you could add notes within the work assignment. Yeah.
Okay.
And that actually does show up on the Calendar Clap app. So if they were to view an assignment, they would actually see that as well. So as mentioned, it's being recorded, and Kristen will post that, and then obviously you guys will now have a kind of a chance to kind of play around and mess with this, and I'm sure questions will come about that. So any questions that may come up, feel free to email us at consulting@sirius.com, and certainly can address some of those questions. If you guys are implementing this and you guys are having any issues with that, any errors that may come about, certainly email or contact support, and they will definitely help you out with that. Support will actually help you with also some of the basic training. They won't get too involved and too in-depth as we kind of did throughout this webinar today, but they'll kind of help you on the basics. And but like I said, I would kind of review the video if you have any questions on, how to set up the parts and how to set up the calendars and that sort of thing. But certainly feel free to email us, and we'll answer them for you as well. All right. Kristen, anything else?
No, that's it. Thanks so much, Pras.